In this video, I'm gonna be showing you the most effective opening for black below 1500. But before we do that, let me ask you something. Are you tired of having to learn hundreds of variations just to be able to get a playable position? Assuming the answer is yes, or you simply like my little accent, in today's video I'm gonna be showing you the Caro-Kann, an opening that is so simple and effective that even my cactus was able to reach 1500 with it. So for educational purposes, I'm gonna be playing 3 games against lower rated players, explaining my thinking process as an international master, and the goal for that is to highlight some of the most common beginner mistakes. Please feel free to use the timestamps from the description, pick what you need, and let's get started. Alright everybody, getting the black pieces and against d4. You already know what's up. We're gonna be sticking with a Caro-Kann. And let's see what opponent has in mind. We're gonna be playing d5, and then he's got basically like 3 big main options. He could either play knight c3, ed5 the exchange, or e5 the so-called advance. What do you guys think it's gonna be? Oh, apparently he pre-moved ed5. Alright, opponent knows what's up. He was expecting the Caro-Kann, and this goes for the humble exchange variation, which is definitely not bad, but the way you actually want to see this, it's pretty simple. You want to think this opening really in more of like a setup, like sort of where your pieces belong, other than, okay, I do this, he does that, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to think about it in like a concrete way. So think about the exchange Caro, it is super simple, okay? Knights on the natural squares, bishop ideally on g4. If somehow that's not an option because he played h3, you want to go on to f5. Then e6, bishop always on e7, I would recommend below 1500. And then castle. That's how you get your opening. So I'll just stick with that. Let's see. Now that we have this sort of big idea of what you're gonna do, it's way easier to stick to the main plan and just keep an eye on whether our opponent's making any weird mistakes or something like that. Because what ends up happening in lower rated games, people just are so focused on their own moves, and with that they pay less attention, and with that I mean no attention to what their opponent is doing. So definitely some of you may have been guilty for that, at least in the past. I don't know, maybe the first time you watched the channel you were. Now I'm sure you've gotten better. If you don't know who the heck I am, that's fine, you're welcome. Anyways, so white plays bishop to g2. I'm just, not gonna be doing anything complicated. By the way, g3 is like a super weird setup against the exchange for a number of reasons. Well, first of all, the bishop doesn't really belong there. I mean, the bishop's usually nicely placed on d3, trying to checkmate the king. So here, I don't know, bishop on g2, kind of passive. Anyways, he plays h3. So we could take and give up the bishop pair. However, that's a little bit unnecessary. So normally you want to keep the tension. So I'm just gonna slide back. If he plays g4, I think that is just a little bit of a weakening. So he castles instead. Now we're just gonna be going for simple development. So we're gonna be playing e6. And as I already said, below 1500, what do? We always play the move bishop to e7. I mean, sure, you could play bishop d6 if you really want to, but that could get you in a lot of, let's say, annoying spots, because they basically more or less always play bishop g5 in these positions. So I feel like bishop e7 is safer overall and easier to play. Gonna get castle as I promised. Okay guys, so far we did what I told you on move 3. How cool is that? I mean, tell me one opening which allows you to do the same while getting a good position. You could probably do the same and the opponent will take all of your pieces one by one, but here, not the case, or at least not yet. So he goes queen to d3, which is a move. I think that's sort of classifies as a move. Besides that, I'm not a huge fan of it because, well, I sort of understand the fact that he's trying to unpin himself, but on the other hand, he's developing the queen a little bit too early. And this queen is actually vulnerable to an idea, or perhaps a bunch of ideas. So, uh, what do you guys think that could be? I think the scariest thing that he'll probably forget about is knight to b4. But do you think we're gonna go knight b4 immediately? Just kind of like, I don't know, rushing about it? No, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna play it cool, okay? These kind of moves, like knight b4, hitting the queen just because you saw the queen, is just like, I don't know, you see the first naked girl in your life and you don't know what to do. You're just like, oh, let me attack the queen, let me rush. No, 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 you don't rush. Just prepare it. Rook c8, okay? No rush. Play it cool. Now, what this actually does, setting up a huge threat. What is the threat? Want to play knight b4 and then it's going to be a double attack. That could potentially just win the game. Of course, this is not winning by force since opponent can definitely defend if he's spotting this kind of sophisticated threat that we have, but rook c8 is a desired move anyways, just placing the rook on these semi-open files. Whenever you have this sort of files, make sure to bring your rooks over. Open files or semi-open files are always good. You can like never really go wrong with that because, well, there's somebody that needs to take care of these files. So the rooks are great for these because they are long-range pieces. Queens are also fine, but the queens, you know, need a little bit more protection. So the queen cannot really fight with a rook. So, yeah, just applying standard principles, and opponent goes 95. Now, this move is basically telling us that opponent has been completely ignoring the elaborated bit that I just had about the naked girl and the knight b4 type of idea. So, I guess we're just gonna go for it. Alright. Hitting the queen. And besides that, perhaps even more important, there's a pawn on c2, and for those of you that are still not getting it, the rook has actually been opened up. So opponent will have to move the queen, but he won't be able to save the c2 pawn. And even more important, his rook is going to be pretty trapped. It's just kind of like the bonus part of this. So basically, I think this is just the greatest summary of how you can gain rating, let's say below 12, 1300 easily. Okay, just develop your pieces on their natural squares. Rook on the open file, win. What do you want to do more? I mean, this is literally what we did. All this part, develop pieces, castle. Rook on the open file. One move later, boom, win. What is so hard? I mean, I don't get it. Just keep it simple, guys. No need to go any fancy tactics, play any kind of complex stuff. Oh, let me try this weird gambit, or maybe do that, and this way I can finally win a game. No, just keep it simple. I mean, if you're in this rating, chances are you could just get away with playing solid principal moves, and you know, like stuff like this will happen quite often. It's not like, okay, I know some of you guys maybe in the comments just like, all right, dude, I mean, you just got lucky. I mean, 1100s just play like a beast. I mean, 1100 stuck for like 5 years. They're just insane. It's just like Magnus Carlsen with no openings, basically. Some of you may argue. But I'm telling you, that's how all of them are playing. Sure, not every single one of them will just blunder like that. Okay, this is a little bit gross, a little bit atrocious. But I'm saying, you just do this, you're gonna have at least an equal position. And of course, if you subscribe to the channel, then you will know how to win every single time. And opponent just play queen e2. So mistake number one that we need to avoid in this game is the fact that we can get flagged. So I told you there is knight takes on c2 as a move. But there could actually be something even better. So yeah, I think that's definitely a move. But you can think of it this way. I don't know. You play knight takes on c2. That could be good, but you're not sure whether that works. You really need a wingman. You need somebody to like tell you, dude, this is good. It's all right. You do this, you win. So, I think for that perspective, the knight could serve very well as a wingman on b4. And we could use the rook. And there is actually a pretty lonely bishop on b2 that's waiting for us to be taken. So, I think this two make a pretty interesting team. So, unless I'm missing something obvious like checkmate in one or stuff like that, I think we've got this. I think we should be good. So let's see what opponent has in mind here. I mean, he's got some squares for the queen. Not too many. Not as many as you may think. But at the very least, let's actually compare a little bit these sort of, let's say, two promising moves that we had. So if I was to play knight takes on c2, oh, there it is, queen c3. Opponent is like, my queen is immortal. You can take my bishop. My queen is protecting it. He's kind of right. I mean, the queen is protecting it, but I'm like, all right. All right, that's a queen, dude. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a queen. I'm pretty sure we can take it. I'm pretty sure.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was, huh?
Pretty sure this is takeable. Oh, he's like, yeah, I saw it. Part of the plan. Show must go on. All right. All right. Now, time to trap the rook from jail. Okay? This is Andrew Tate on a1, okay? Time to go after him. Knight e2. All right, knight e2. Trying to escape. Gonna cash in the rook. I mean, no need to play anything fancy. And just time to bring the rest of my pieces in the game. We need to bring the rook onto the open file. So queen is in the way. Need to move the queen away, but even better to gain a tempo in the meantime. So we do that. And then that's preparing rook c8. Boom, rook onto the open file. I could have taken a point. We don't even care. Like, you're up so much more here. You need to stop being greedy. So the game is already won. We just need to bring the rest of our pieces and collect the win, basically. Okay, now I'm going to play queen b4. And queen b4 is a pretty strange move for a number of reasons. Okay, maybe it's actually looking a little bit logical since you may think, oh, you want to win b3? That makes sense. Well, that was actually not the main thing of it. I wanted to play queen a3, in fact. And this is going to appear as a very weird move to a lot of you. But this is, in fact, actually one of the cleanest ways of winning this game. I mean, at least I hope. Because what the point of this move really is, besides confusing every single one of you that's watching this video, it's threatening to play rook c1. And it's not really the rook c1 move that's important, but the concept that we have a big material advantage. Easiest conversion will be made once we exchange more pieces. So we trade the rooks, then we trade the minor pieces, and we want his king alone against our queen. We take every single one of his pawns, then we try to checkmate. It is as simple as that. And, okay, g4, I'm just gonna slide back. And then, funnily enough, the bishop is pretty restricted as well, isn't it? And, yeah, what I wanted to say, this is, I see super often as a misconception in a lot of my students' games. Dude, chess is not about checkmating. You'd think, oh, checkmate ends the game. It kind of does. You're kind of true on that. Congrats. I mean, that won't make you a master. Maybe if you're good enough at checkmating, you will, but most likely not. So the thing that you need to understand about the checkmate, it is actually something a little bit more obscure. Like, your main goal shouldn't be to checkmate, because that is not really gonna happen usually. I mean, to be honest, as a professional player, it never comes down to checkmate. They resign earlier. But the point that I'm trying to make is, usually it's pretty tough to checkmate your opponent. I mean, here we managed to do it, but that doesn't have to do anything with the story. So you don't want to be looking specifically for the checkmate, especially, okay, just to give an example, this game was not won because of the checkmate, okay? It was won on the queen side. That's the case with a lot of your games. A lot of the games are won by winning a pawn and exchanging all the pieces. Then you've got one extra pawn. You promote the pawn, and you have king and queen, and then you mate him in the endgame. That is basically how most of the games end in a checkmate. Unless you're like 200 rated, which by any means, I'm not trash talking anyone. Okay, all the 200s are welcome. And please send me some games for review. If we make some kind of funny guest deal or game review, something like that, I swear, if you're like, I don't know, have a low rating and very interesting games, send them over. I don't know, join the Discord, do something, email me. I want to see your games. So, yeah, as I was saying, the games are not won by checkmate in the middle of the game, usually. Just win a little bit of material, you trade everything off, you convert by getting in the endgame and then checkmating white's king alone, or any king really. So, yeah, what does this have to do with the game? Not much in particular, it's just how I host my commentary, and whether you like that or not, that's how we do it. So, as I was saying, opponent was not necessarily forced to allow this knight before move and just give us a free win. He could have played a3, in fact, just stopping knight before. However, if you look at the engine, and the engine can be seen in the top right of the screen, it has a bunch of weird numbers that, well, mean something. This basically means minus 0.9 is close to minus 1, which is technically translating into the fact that black is up a pawn. This is just sort of a weird computerish way of saying that black is better, and computer thinks that we're gonna be winning a pawn in like an advanced phase of the game with optimal play. So, yeah, as I was saying, the main takeaway, the main takeaway from this game, you develop pieces on natural squares. Like I said, I told you literally this. If you remember, we were on move 3, I told you. Knights go on the natural squares. Bishop g4 if we can, if not, prefer f5, just don't jail the bishop. Play e6, bishop e7, castle, rook goes onto the open file. Okay, told you this on move 3, you could do that in most of your games. What ends up happening, we do exactly that, kind of no matter what white does. We play rook on the open file because we would have done that anyways. And he plays knight e5, we get winning position. Now, say he defends. He defends with a3. Still, we've got a very promising position, like a -1 with black. Now, my question is for you. What the heck are you doing instead of playing the Caro-Kann, really? Why are you wasting your time with anything else? I don't get it. It's just so simple and so effective. Don't you like to win? I mean, I don't get it. Anyways, you let me in the comment, whatever the reason is. Whether you're like the biggest Stafford Gambit fan or whatever, I'm like very interested to find out. So you let me know there. And with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. Right, everybody, getting another game against e4. Gonna be going for the Caro. And when they play knight f3, I would mainly expect it all just comes down back into the exchange. Oh, I was about to draw the arrow, but the move just happened, so it is what it is. Now, was about to say that whenever they play the exchange, it's pretty simple. Knights on natural squares, bishop g4, e6, bishop e7, castle. When they'd go for this check, even though there's nothing wrong with knight c6, even simpler, I feel like you just go for the bishop trade. And this is an interesting position. I'm curious what you guys would recapture with. Because I feel like a common move is knight e7, and there is nothing wrong with that. But I feel even better could be to just take it with a queen, because you want to develop the knight onto a little bit more of an active square. c6 is a bit more active than d7. The queen is okay placed there. Now we just continue development. Knight f6, e6, bishop e7, castle. Do the usual stuff. Expecting bishop g5 because that's what they always play. Bishop f4, some chances to see that as well, but mainly bishop g5 I expect. Yeah, just bishop to e7, ready to take, preparing castle next. And we finish development with a very fine position. Keys of 95. Probably we're gonna go for takes because I just want to get rid of his annoying knight immediately. Plays h3, making a luft. I could do h6 just to see what he wants to do with the bishop. This is always a nice move to throw in. Bishop's now a little bit out of the game. He can no longer retreat using this diagonal and it's kind of stuck here. So I think we're going to stick with the main plan of just going rook c8. Always place the rook on the semi-open file. And then we just want to go for the typical plan. What is the typical plan in the Caro-Kann? We don't go for mate. Who told you we're gonna go for mate? We don't do that here, okay? Calm down. If it's your first time on the channel, that's not something that we do here. I mean, not specifically us, but in the exchange Caro, it's mainly about having a safe king and just putting pressure onto the queen side because of this little semi-open file. So we're gonna be doing something that is this so-called minority attack. Why is he called that? You may be wondering. Well, I don't know, but it's just the fact that we have 2 pawns against 3, so a little bit of a minority, but we're gonna be the one that's putting pressure with a6, b5, and potentially just expanding. Usually a nice plan, specifically against this knight, is knight a5, knight c4. Opponent just goes knight e5. It could be better to just play queen c7 and kind of let that knight for a little bit, so we can retreat maybe in a different way after, but I like to keep it simple in these positions. Whenever opponent has like an annoying piece like this, you want to really treat it as a situation like this. Let's say you're just chilling, okay? It's morning, you wake up, drink your coffee, walking around your apartment, and you see a stranger in your house. You're gonna be like, oh, I have my coffee, let me bring some papers, like read the news. Just chill. I'll take care of the stranger later. No, of course you're not gonna do that. You're just gonna get rid of the stranger as soon as you can. We're gonna go knight e5, and yeah, just get rid of that knight. Okay, I have to move the knight. We're gonna have to make a little bit of a retreating move because 94 just loses. So we're gonna go like e8, but we took care of the stranger. I mean, that was task number 1. Take back with the queen, and okay, my knight is a little bit passive. Now we need to think of ways to potentially improve it. So you cannot really do many moves other than knight c7. I know some of you may be wondering, oh, cannot we just play something like f6 and try to use this pawn? No, that is going to be doing more harm than good. Because the opponent can take and then e6 becomes the target. So don't do that, please. And just try to bring some more life into this knight. I know, sometimes it's like... It's hard to do, but there's always a way, guys. There's always hope. Unless we talk about my professional chess career. So, anyways, the opponent just plays queen g3. Now, how are we gonna rescue this knight? So we could do knight a8, knight b6, knight c4. But even an easier route is this knight going to c5 like that. So, as long as opponent doesn't have any threats against my king, which he doesn't seem to have, we're just gonna try to improve the knight. Get a knight to c5. He could potentially get a knight to d6, which is honestly gonna be a little bit annoying. But that would still allow me to play knight e4, so I don't think he's in time with that now. And we have managed to solve the problem of this. Now, it took us some moves, yes, but at the end of the day, you have a happy knight, so that is all that matters. Plays rook to d4. Potentially looking for a very scary rook lift. I agree. That is pretty intimidating. You know what else is intimidating? Our minority attack, I would normally say, but maybe not here. So potentially we might have to take some defensive measures. It is not something that I love to do, but you know, you'd better be safe than sorry. You know, as they say in these like commercials, safety is not a game of luck. uh, yeah, this is interesting. So I could perhaps just do a move like king h8. What is that doing? Well, it's preparing to meet rook g4 with rook g8. However, I could also do a6, preparing to meet rook g4 with not g6 this time, but maybe f5. He can go for the en passant if he knows it's a legal move. We're gonna take, and the queen covers that. And we have a threat against f2. So I think I like that. I think I'm just gonna try to jabate my opponent. Can we do that here? Is that allowed? Plays rook g4, threatening it. So I'm gonna do f5. By the way, guys, okay, super important. You need to wake up. If you're like sleeping, you're lurking, I don't know, whatever, you're cleaning. I mean, probably not, but anyways, whatever you're doing, this is important because I see this all the time. Simply lower rated players, they can only defend pawns by, oh, let me advance or this, or maybe somehow this and this, but they never see moving a pawn and then the queen opens up and defends that. You really want to get used to this. It's a very effective and efficient method to defend your pawns. I would probably still lose this game, but I mean, it doesn't make it any less effective, so f5 is a very important move. We do that. Boom, tempo, hit the rook. Boom, defend. He took immediately. This guy was like, dude, I saw this miles away. Opponent is like, oh my god, what is opponent doing? He's definitely aware of what I'm trying to do. Now a good move for him is rook g. This guy is something else. I don't know. Well, what is this? Like 1100 just crushing IM in like 20 moves? What is this? Oh, geez. I mean, I don't know, guys. This is a little bit strange. This person is playing really good chess right now, in case you haven't noticed. Still, we need to keep our composure. He played that. I clearly missed it. Now, there's two ways I can try to deal with this. There's queen f2. The idea, he takes, I take, king takes, I pick up the rook, even pawns. Maybe that's a thing. But I could also do d4, because his rook is like not really threatening much from there. It took a pawn, but not threatening anything. So when I do d4, he doesn't have many squares for the knight, really. He goes e2, he allows knight e4. Has to probably play d1 or b1, which is very passive looking. And then what? I don't know. Probably then queen f2. All the nonsense. Yeah, we'll have to play it this way. Knight e4. Take and then pick up c2. That was kind of my instinct. Are we gonna get mated with rook h4? I don't know. That's like the fun of watching these videos. We may get mated in every second, but you never know. So gonna take that, and I wanted to pick up c2. Oh my god, this guy's like putting up a great fight right now. I wanna do this. Now on rook h4, was planning to go for the endgame. And usually getting two rooks on the second is pretty powerful. He is forced to take. King h2 loses to queen trade, and then we pick up the rook. So he is for sure forced to take. But I feel like we kind of outplayed him. A little bit at least. Kind of hard to outplay this 1100 guys constantly. But now he has to play rook g6, I feel like. Okay, he does that. Fine. Now he has to play rook g4. How's this position? It definitely looks super tempting to try to run the pawn down the board. Can we do that? I have no idea. We may try, but I don't know whether we may succeed or not. I don't know. So say he does rook g4. I'm gonna do d3. I feel like we have to try out this pawn push. He's gonna do rook d8 most likely. But then there is d2, so he cannot take the rook because of the... yeah, we're gonna do this. He cannot take us of discovery. And what is my threat, really? That is a good question. Perhaps I don't have that many threats. Threat could be something like this. However, it's a... Oh. Alright, guys. super cute tactic. Okay, you want to watch out for this? Pause the video. Whatever you're doing, I don't care, guys. If you really need to do something important, you have a meeting at work, you just have to pause this. Super instructive tactic for black. No, it's not D1. Duh. Why would you do that? Don't do that because you get this and it's just a perpetual. Okay, it's fine. You got the right kind of idea, but you want to do the better move order. So there is Rook G2. Now what this does is he cannot take.
Emotional damage.
That's not a thing. That's the main point. Got a discovery. There's a free queen for us. He should have just kind of played around it, but opponent just couldn't resist the temptation. Now, of course, the queen and rook are too powerful together. Or at least they're supposed to be. I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. Oh, did I just blunder? Hope not. Oh, what's that doing? Can I go king g6? Hope I can. Threatening this mate. And this mate as well. That's hard to stop. Yeah, that's just mate. Alright, fine. We managed to win the game, but... I mean, what was my opponent doing? This guy played like... I don't know. Give this guy a medal. I mean, not all heroes wear a cape. This guy was just insane. For his rating range, this guy just played amazing. I don't get it. I don't get what he was doing. What kind of coach he has. Let me just put it that way. Yeah. Wild. Completely wild stuff. Let's check it a little bit in the analysis. So, apparently, at this point, we're just way ahead. We're much better. -1. Now, what did go wrong? King knight c5 was apparently not so clever. And I kind of... Yeah, f5 is reasonable move. f5 is not a mistake by any means. It's just that knight c5 was a mistake. I was just kind of too zoned in onto like improving the knight, and I sort of ignore the fact that he has active ideas. Computer spots this immediately and plays rook c4, which is a bit of a strange move, but it's just stopping rook d4. It really makes sense. And then computer also seems to be spotting ideas like queen b4, and it's hard for him to defend, and evaluates this as -1 for black, which is much better. And when knight c5 and then the position kind of evaporates, it's just like close to equal. I mean, still, the whole thing was equal. After d4, if he finds knight d1, he's apparently a bit better. Don't really get why. After this, it's equal again. He's better after f3. And lost after this move, so... Okay, d3 clearly top line. We just have to make use of that pawn, and d2 apparently was even a brilliant move for some reason. I mean, I guess it's just hard to stop rook e2, rook there, so... It wasn't clear to me whether this is winning or not, so here rook g2 clearly top line, and he has to sort of sidestep, but yeah, apparently then rook e2, and we do this, and then there's no way to actually avoid the discovery, so would have been a win anyways. So yeah, anyways, big credits for my opponent. I mean, this guy, big shout out from Finland, casually chugging a beer and playing like that while on losing streak. This guy was insane. All right, well played, opponent. And with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. All right, everybody, getting the black pieces, and we're gonna be trying out a 10-minute game this time, facing somebody rated almost around 1000. So gonna be sticking with the Caro-Kann, and we see that our opponent is going for the most aggressive sort of variation, going for the advance, where you have basically two main options if you are trying to I don't know, play the Caro-Kann mainly as a master. Probably not the case. I think bishop f5 is more suitable, but I think below, somewhere around like 2200, c5 is definitely the better alternative because the volume of theory is quite heavily reduced, while giving you a lot of chances to play this opening as a win with black. So after c5, normally white has a number of reactions. c3 is the most common one in your games, especially let's say below 1500. You're gonna see a lot of knight f3, dc5 occasionally, bishop b5 check, bishop e3 sometimes, maybe that too. So yeah, I think I haven't forgot to mention any of these. So when they play c3 now, you have to be quite careful with the move order. Like, the way you want to develop your pieces is pretty easy, and most of the people can recreate this, but you need to pay a little bit of attention to the details because it's important to begin with a move knight c6, so that dc5 is not a problem because of knight e5, and it would be a mistake to go c takes on d4 directly, because after cd4 knight c6, white has a knight c3 move, and then the big difference compared to, like, let's say the bishop f5 type of lines, we want to get this bishop all the way to g4 if possible. So in that position, that won't really be the case. So we go knight c6. We're waiting for them to develop the knight. I mean, they could play bishop b5 as well. That's pretty common too. Or f4. But when the knight goes to f3, starting with the bishop is a little bit of an inaccuracy. It's best to just make sure that bishop g4 dc5 could be transposing to other lines. So easiest is to take, make sure the pawn remains sort of fixed on d4, and it's gonna be about getting an improved version compared to bishop f5. That's what I really meant to say. We want to get a pin. Okay, see now how much value you're able to get, because already there's a threat of eliminating the knight, and if they take with a queen as they would love to, then the pawn remains undefended on d4, vulnerable to this idea. Now, taking is no longer a thing because the queen will still be covering d4. So we just play e6. As a rule of thumb, we only take on f3 when h3 happens, because I noticed some lower rated players just take on f3 right away. So you want to be waiting for white to waste that tempo on playing h3 first. So I'm just going to go e6 now. Already you kind of want to visualize how you are getting castled. So the main battlefield is the d4 pawn, because it cannot really be protected by any other pawns, and it's pretty vulnerable. So we're gonna go e6. This knight goes usually to f5. Bishop goes to e7. Weak castle short. Super important. This is what a lot of people forget. This rook goes to c8. Take the open file. And when h3 happens, we take on f3, and we'll take it from there. And that's kind of how you want to think about it. You want to have this sort of like big idea of how you want to develop, and in the same time you should just like kind of pay attention to what your opponent does and try to adjust in case he goes for like any sort of crazy lines. So he plays a very normal move. I'm just gonna develop now. Bishop g5 is also very common for this type of games. You can play h6 and then move the queen to b6. Idea is to play knight f5. That's not an issue. And as I told you, h3, we usually have this rule to always take on f3 in the advance, just weakening protection over d4 square. I'm gonna play this move not only attacking but also making room for the bishop so we can get castled, expecting bishop e3. And yeah, white doesn't really have a lot to do about that pawn. I mean, they have to protect it with bishop e3. I mean, I imagine if knight c3 happens, we could safely take on d4. So yeah, already white is under a little bit of pressure. The position is still completely fine for white if they play it properly, but from my experience, it's exactly in these type of positions that you want to get into as a Caro-Kann player. This is really one of our dream case scenarios because our play is so easy and we can just put pressure on the weak pawn. It's just a very solid position. We have no bad pieces, and yeah, I mean, I cannot really explain you guys how good the position is. So opponent plays bishop to e3. We're gonna go bishop to e7, get castled, and play rook c8. That is basically the idea for the upcoming two moves, in case opponent doesn't go like crazy, completely blundering or something like that. I mean, it may very well happen, you know. We're playing 1000 elo games, so blunders are appreciated but not expected. So you know how it is. It's gonna get castled. Guys, so far you could reach this position easily below 2100 too, so it's like pretty insane that you can get a theoretical spot like this in like somebody that's 900 rated in rapid. Plays 92. This move is actually kind of the first sort of surprising moment of the game for me, because it's moving the knight one more time without occupying the file. I mean, I promised we're gonna stick with rook ca, just making sure we get the open file. So guys, whenever you have like an open file, it is like super important you just place your rooks there. I mean, you can think about it as this rook, you know, like let's say sort of as a bouncer in a club that's kind of checking who's getting in and kind of controlling all the traffic. I mean, the difference is that this bouncer on c8 cannot really bribe it, but maybe you can actually bribe it with a pawn. I don't know. Anyways, here goes knight f4, which is kind of logical, trying to activate the knight, but the knight is no longer rotating d4. So I'm thinking about like a number of ideas, and probably I know what you guys are wondering. Dude, when are we actually supposed to take on e3? Because I swear I'm watching this video and I would have taken the e3 bishop ages ago. So, well, I'm glad you actually came up with that question. I mean, you haven't, but I guess I have to formulate it some way. So, related to taking on e3, I would say the only time when we actually grab the bishop is when the f5 knight is under attack. So either bishop g4 or pawn to g4, that's when we take. Other than that, we keep the tension. The knight is very active, putting a lot of pressure here. Let's be honest, this is like a bishop, but it's not like the most active bishop of all time. You know, it's like a nice piece, but it's pretty restricted. So we don't really mind the e3 bishop. And yeah, as I was saying, like we've got basically two ideas that I'm mainly considering. One is the typical pawn expansion, a6, b5, maybe then queen b6, maybe combined with knight a5, knight c4. Or the other one, which is another typical idea for these positions, to play bishop g5, which is creating a direct threat of taking, and then we can pick up the d4 pawn. Now the question is, doesn't really seem to have a good answer to bishop g5, which I think kind of makes it my main candidate. Like, how is he even defending against this move? Because whenever the knight moves, he's gonna have problems on e3. So I think white is in trouble. As surprising as it may look, looks like they have done nothing obviously wrong, but we might already have a winning position. He plays g3, which is actually a clever move. I mean, not clever enough because, you know, it's like hard to keep up. But I think we could still take. And the idea is that still the bishop move is not really working. So we'll have to take with the pawn, and we managed to like mess up the structure. So if you think about it, now look at the e3 bishop after pawn takes. That is not a happy bishop. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll have to wait and see how opponent is, you know, recapturing. He may be considering to just take back with a bishop, but that's like just losing the pawn. So kind of the only justification for having played g3 is to take with the pawn, I imagine. Wait, what? He just played g4? No, that can be. That's like completely ruining it. Oh my god, I even had a joke about that. Oh, this is very frustrating. I guess we're just gonna have to keep it simple and try to collect the rest of his pieces. But I will actually go into the analysis tab and talk a little bit about this position after the game, after he goes, let's say, gf4. So for now, just collecting the pawns one by one. We've got the extra piece. We just have to bring the queen, I guess. I mean, can trade them. It's an endgame, so it cannot be a bad idea either. So taking with check. Okay, let's see what opponent does. He goes king h1. Now time to bring the queen. Where should we place the queen? Not b6, just go a little bit more aggressive. That's one of my favorite moves. And queen h4, and what do we do with that? We just want to mate him directly. Is he gonna be able to defend? Probably he's gonna play king g2, but that's gonna run into a forced mate. So I think that works. Same against bishop g2. He still has a move that's sort of surviving. Not for long, for a little while though. Yeah, he finds it. Okay, we'll just have to go for a little bit of a hunt of the enemy king. This is the season, guys. Let's see where the king is gonna go. He can go to f3, still trying to protect the bishop. Otherwise, we just take it, obviously. What do we do when opponent plays king f3? We should bring another piece. You would have done that with 95 against this. Just taking. What is this king doing on e3? Is opponent like playing king of the hill? That might be it. Still, he cannot reach these squares, so that would be a winning king of the hill, but not here. By the way, guys, for those of you that have no idea of what I'm talking about, king of the hill is like a chess variant where it's basically like normal chess, but if you reach these squares with your king, it's an instant win. So, in case you couldn't understand my jokes, nobody does, so don't worry about it. Just gonna try and pick up the exchange. King goes to e2. Gonna take with a discovery, and hopefully we're gonna be mating on f2 next. In case of king e1. I mean, maybe he'll play king d3, but I think we've got a pretty cute mate there with 95, so... Yeah, guys, now related to this position after takes. I was expecting him to take with the pawn, but... I mean, now let's pause for a bit, guys. Look at this bishop. I mean... This is like one of the saddest bishops that I've ever seen. I mean, look at this. Look at this. I mean, actually, this is not even a good color. Look at the bishop, like how restricted it's by the pawns. I mean, guys, if you think about it, I mean, this is first year of relationship. Yeah, bishop is still like kind of a healthy bishop, kind of, you know, having options, maybe activating one day, maybe starting to be the MVP of the game. Suddenly, first day of marriage, take with a pawn. This is what you become. Look at the bishop. He's dead. Nothing to do. I mean, what is that bishop? Would have been so bad. So, yeah, opponent, I mean, obviously was so scared about this potential scenario that he was like, there's no way I'm getting married. And he just like played g4. That was like, that's fine. I guess I'll just have to take the rest of your pieces. Now, jokes aside, in case of gf4, I would have probably done the same, queen h4. And in case of a move like bishop g4, that's like mainly what I was considering. Computer says it's actually best to take and finish these guys suffering on e3. I wouldn't have done that though. I would probably try to reinforce the knight and play around that bishop for a while. So yeah, I guess both works. The idea with this was to go queen g3 and pick up the e3 pawn and then together with it d4. But yeah, clearly black has an overwhelming position, and I guess the even more interesting part is that after knight f4, as I told you guys, I mean, you can see it on the screen. Bishop g5, best move. We already have a completely winning position. I know, quite shocking, yes. Move 14. White did seemingly nothing wrong, but they have a losing position. Well, that's mainly because d4 is falling next. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of quick tutorial on how to play the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann against one of the most common moves when they meet the board winning cards with c3. So, yeah, with that being said, I think we can move on to the next game.